Hello, all, and welcome to the Triple H podcast. We got another episode for you guys today. Happy Hour Hoops, your one stop shop for enjoying a cold beverage, listening to our ice cold basketball takes. Today, we're going to go over a little bit of the play in tournament drama, and then we're talking some MVPs. We got a special guest at Trainwreck Sports. You guys can follow him on Twitter at MEREKATKT. Meerkat's our guy. He's here to talk a little Jokic Nuggets. And yeah, let's do this thing.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be back. Always love hopping on with Triple H. I don't think I've been on since the college basketball tournament, which, I mean, that was a hell of a run there we had doing those. But, yeah, it's nice to be back, and the perfect show to have me on to talk about MVP candidates. I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Before we get into everything, we're going to get to basketball real quick soon. But we got to talk about the MVP of the men's grooming business, and that is Manscaped. I could use a little Manscaped products. I got some scruff going. Need to clean up. It's springtime. You guys should too. So go over to manscaped.com. Use the code word TRAINWRECK at checkout. Free shipping, 20% off. Get all the nicest men's grooming tools you can find. Clean yourself up, and yeah, go do it. Let's talk some hoops.
I always love to hear just how smooth Dunny can get the Manscaped transition, because I always just want to see like how he's gonna work it into it. Sometimes it's like, whoo!
A little there. I forgot. I wanted to get it in earlier, but can't forget about it.
You guys have so many opportunities here with, just the balls references in general, being a basketball podcast. I mean, quick shout out to Manscaped and balls real quick. The ball deodorant, though, like that stuff is revolutionary, guys. That's a product like I recommend any guy to check out. Just best way to start the morning.
Yeah, especially if you're a hooper. You're gonna need to apply that ball.
Yeah. That's facts. That is facts. All right, boys. So let's get into it here. Before we get into the MVP, there's been some drama the last couple weeks about the play-in tournament. I've got some feelings about it, and I want to see how you guys feel about it. So my friend, as you can see behind me, LeBron James, not very happy with the play-in tournament, said, I don't remember the exact quote, don't have it up, but basically said whoever came up with that shit needs to get fired, something along the lines of that. Mark Cuban also expressed his displeasure, I would say, with the play-in tournament, even though, all 30 owners decided that it was okay at the beginning of the year. Mark Cuban was like, oh, not a great idea. Common thread between LeBron James and Mark Cuban here. Both their teams very susceptible to being caught in the play-in tournament so far. So I know we've talked about the play-in tournament a little bit, but I'll give it a quick rundown in case you guys don't know exactly how it's working out. The 7 and 8 seed from each conference will be playing each other. The winner of that game, bam, 7 seed locked in. The loser of that game will play the winner of the 9 and 10 seed game to get the final spot in the play-in tournament. So you guys, as we get up closer to the playoffs, and that's going to be how we kick off the playoffs, is those play-in games. We'll start here with Meerkat. How do you like the play-in idea? I know we had it in the NHL last year. They had a version of it last year in the NBA. They've kind of expanded on that version this year with one that we're going with now. So I just want to know, like, generally, how do you feel about going into the year and seeing like how these playoff races are developing with the play-in?
So, obviously my team, the Nuggets, being in a position, I don't really have to worry about getting caught up in that whole mess. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. I'm always down for when, the pro sports leagues, like from the 4 major sports, try something new and different that, actually like impactful, not a little rule tweak here and there or something, like this is a big deal, this type of play-in tournament. It shifts everything. And I think this is the best year to test it out and see how it goes with like a wonky season following, the bubble and COVID and everything going on. The season has been weird. Rough start to the NBA season. People forget there was a lot of shit going on. But they got it straightened out. So I guess, this is the year to try it out with a lot of teams dealing with things and good teams being kind of near the, bottom of the standings. Like you brought up, Mavs and Lakers could get caught up in that, the West below the top 4 teams. It could be any team in that. The Warriors, you've seen how they've been playing. Everyone loves the Trailblazers in the playoffs. The Spurs can squeak in there. There's a lot of quality teams that, this gives a shot to make the playoffs and make some noise. I understand why people would be upset, especially if you're going to be caught up in it. But I think it's exciting. I like new.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Meerkat there in the sense that it's just good timing for it. I think it was well done by the league, especially if, maybe some fans were turned off by the bubble last year and just, if ratings were down and in the finals matchup and people got a little bored with it just because it wasn't traditional. I feel like this is a good way to spice them up, give the fans something new. It's kind of good timing because we are coming off that COVID season and stuff has been weird, like Meerkat touched on there. But I feel like you can always understand why people are upset about it. And it kind of seems like it's like the veteran guys or people who are used to winning are the ones that are upset about it. Like I think Jimmy Butler spoke out about it too. And it's like, if I grind all season to get the 8th seed and then I have to play for that shit too, it's like, obviously you'll understand those guys getting upset, but then you hear guys like De'Aaron Fox, who has never been in a playoff series, and he has a fighting chance this year because of it. Teams, it just makes sense from the teams that are at the bottom and they've never really had a shot yet, and this gives them a chance and it adds some excitement. I'm sure those guys are going to love it. I'll tell you why I like it. Probably my number one reason why I like it is Beal and Westbrook just climbing their way possibly into the playoffs. Two of the most exciting players in the game. I'm hyped because I hyped them up at the beginning of the season. I thought, they would be living in the middle of the East. They've been on a slow start to the season. It kind of took them till like the last 15 games to really turn it up. So I'm excited for it, just for the potential of Beal and Westbrook being in a real playoff series.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that if it gave us anything, it gave us this Russell Westbrook run that has just been absolutely incredible to watch. Yeah. The biggest thing, and you mentioned it too, where Jimmy Butler said, well, if we grind all season to get to the 8th seed, like why shouldn't we be rewarded? First of all, you want to talk about grinding to the 8th seed. The 8th seed in the East right now is 32-33.
Yeah.
Like, you are a below 500 team. So why should these teams, like in that sense, like especially in the East, how many times have we seen the last couple of years where the 8th seed is like 35 wins or something like that?
Yeah.
It's like we're not getting quality. Generally, we're not getting quality teams in that position anyways. And then you get the teams from like 11 to 15 that are just tanking because they're 6 games back of that anyways. And now they have a chance to make the playoffs. Like, the Wizards are only 30-36 right now. They would have been, they're currently 2.5 games back from the Hornets with however many games, 6-7 games left in the season. Like that's not a realistic way to come back. It would take a lot for those teams to get back into it. So now we get these exciting teams to come back. And you know what else? It's the 8th seed. Now it's the 6th seed. That is tough shit. This shit changed up now.
Wow.
Now you don't grind for the 8th seed. Now you grind for the 6th seed. Now you actually have to be in the top half of your conference to guarantee yourself a playoff spot. What's wrong with that? And that was one of the things. I don't know how you guys felt about when the NFL added the extra playoff spot this year. Don't get me wrong. I love having 2 more games on wildcard weekend to gamble on. That's perfectly fine with me. But the fact the NFL playoffs were so great because you had 16 teams and then it was like 10 of them, bam, gone. Like you were getting the best of the best from all of these conferences. And now you're kind of seeing that in the NBA play out with this play-in tournament, because now there's a clear line of separation between like the good teams and the teams that, they didn't do enough in the regular season to guarantee that spot in the playoffs. You shouldn't be guaranteed anything. Why are we guaranteeing 7 and 8 seed spots to go get blown out in the first round?
I like that. Yeah, that's a good point. I think Rachel Nichols said it best the other day. She just said, like, how many 8 seeds have we seen, make it the distance? Like, there's like few ever. So, it kind of makes sense, There's not much competition there anyway.
Yeah, in a conference like the East, it makes a lot of sense. Like, it just you don't want teams, like you said, Jake, skating in 8th place with a sub 500 record, and then thinking they deserve something like,
Yeah.
and there's always excitement from teams like when you get in the playoffs. It's a thing I always talk about. That's when like the best players step up when they need to. That's when a team who might not be great during the regular season could play its best basketball. You could see a team like the Wizards do something like that if they squeak in because of this play-in tournament with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. The way they've been playing, they can beat anybody in the East right now. I mean, it's definitely weird. It's going to be weird, but I like new. Like I said, it's exciting. Why not?
Exactly, and we get a team like the Wizards, like you just said, they can try to find their way into a playoff spot where the rest of the season they wouldn't have been able to. The Warriors right now, currently the 9 side.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, and then out west you get Steph.
That's not a team I want to play in the first round.
Yeah.
Like,
who doesn't want to see a Steph Curry like 1-game elimination to either stay alive for the playoffs or get knocked out? Who doesn't want to see what Steph can do in that situation?
Honestly, the NBA hit the fucking jackpot this year with the teams that are just like so happen to be ending up in this play-in tournament. Like first year trying it out, and then like you're getting some actual excitement. Like they must just be hyped about that alone.
Now, neither of us want this to happen, but how crazy would the ratings be if both the Celtics and the Lakers end up in the play-in too? Because they're right on that edge. Imagine the first night is Lakers Celtics.
I'm so scared of that. So please don't talk into existence. We'll get to that.
We'll get it later. Yeah. All right. So let's get into the MVP then. Usually if in a normal season, we would use this space to kind of debate the MVP, but Meerkat, there's really no debate, man. This is your time. This is your moment, because I think the first time we had our MVP check-in, we had you and Ty B. You were all over Jokic. I'm pretty sure I said Embiid. Embiid did not follow through. He's not even on my list here for this guy. So talk about your boy Joker, and just, I mean, how incredible he's been, especially since Jamal Murray went out too, because it's like he's taken it to another level since then.
Yeah, you just nailed the nail on the head. I hammered the nail on the head. Since Murray's been out, he's taken it to another level. I had a ton of Nuggets futures and stuff. They looked so good right after they got Aaron Gordon. They were clicking on every cylinder, and then Murray goes down, and I'm like, all right, I'm scared now. Since then, they've been 13-4. They've been eating. They've been beating good teams. I mean, you got a point guard by committee with, Campazzo, Monte Morris before he was hurt. Just all these random guys coming in playing. PJ Dozier playing point. I mean, it's a weird scene with their rotation right now, but they're able to hold it all together because Jokic. I mean, Murray really wasn't even, the leader of that team, the offense, before he got hurt. Jokic has always been the leader on that team. He's one of the best passers in the NBA, and it just feels so good that, I feel like he's got a clear path to the MVP right now for the first time ever, even though I've been making, the case for him the past few years. This year, he's just gone parabolic. People were questioning him. Skinny Jokic, he lost all this weight. Is he still going to be able to move around the post? He's looked better than ever. He's throwing down baseline reverse dunks and shit. It's crazy. And he's playing more minutes because of it. That was always a thing with him, is his not durability, just, his stamina. He's averaging 35 minutes a game this year. His most before that was 4 years ago. He's averaging 32 and a half. So, it's a pretty big jump there. And he's been healthy all year. He's not been hurt once, because you look at leading points in the NBA. Jokic isn't in the top 5 in points per game. I think he's like 9th right now, but he's 3rd in the NBA in points, just because he has been healthy. He's played every game and he's been consistent, and he's just doing absolutely everything. I know Westbrook is averaging a triple-double. Jokic nearly is, but he's been so efficient doing it. He's stepped up his 3-point shooting. He's shooting 40% from 3, which is just incredible, because he's always had the 3, but been a little inconsistent, and he's just taking over this year for this Nuggets team. You talk MVP, you can go stats. Boom, it's Jokic based off of just pure stats. His PER is, we heard it earlier with Bruce Sard. It's only 5 players ever have been above a 31 in a season. LeBron did it during an MVP season. Giannis did it during one. Just legends, and he's been so efficient doing it. But MVP is, a guy elevating his team, carrying his team when it matters all year. And he's been doing that, and he's proven it more than ever with Murray out. He's just been so consistent. And, the thing with Jokic that helps him be this type of player he is his personality. he really just doesn't give a fuck. You know, he's a Serbian dude. He likes to have fun and play video games and stuff, but he's not a drama guy. He doesn't get into it. He'll get angry here and there, but like he seriously has fun playing basketball. He's a big goofball, like you said. He likes being goofy on the court, and I think that, you know, is good for him because it just keeps him humble. Like last night, you saw him. Well, this is going to air tomorrow. So 2 nights ago, dropped 24 points in the first quarter. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, Jokic, 50 burger watch." I didn't even overreact because I knew I was going to be surprised if he broke 40 that game because he doesn't care about the points. He's the least aggressive dude who will average 27 points in a season in NBA history. You know, he takes it if they come to him, if he needs to put his team in a situation. But if they're up, they're chilling. He's just facilitating. He's doing his part. He doesn't care about the stats, even though he absolutely stuffs them. I don't have an argument against Jokic that I would accept right now.
I think after that, we got to give him the trophy right now.
I just went off. I'm sorry, boys.
Oh, that was great. He should bring you on.
I should hire you. I know.
Yeah,
right.
PR rep or something. Fuck. No, go ahead, Demi.
No, it's true though, because it's crazy. Jake, even me and you know, we questioned it in one of our episodes, or it might have been a pregame show a few weeks ago when Murray did get hurt. We kind of wondered if, you know, we figured his stats would still be there for MVP, but we questioned this Nuggets team a little bit if they would, you know, be able to keep the record going, because we thought, you know, if the record plummets without Jamal Murray, then you can make a case that it's someone else. But they're 8-2 in their last 10. The Nuggets are still crushing it, as Meerkat mentioned. So it's really, really, really hard to make a case against Jokic right now, especially he just has the stats to back it up. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else you can say. You got to agree with Meerkat there that it's tough to listen to any other argument, but we might give you a couple.
Well, the thing about Murray going out is that it's always kind of been my worry with Jamal Murray. No, didn't mean to rhyme there, but bars, I guess. My worry with him has always been just like obviously he's a talented player, but it's been he's had the volume to have this offensive ability that he's had. Like he's had the opportunity and the volume to put up the numbers that he's had. But now we've got our boy Michael Porter Jr., who's just slid into that second scoring role and taken advantage of every second of it. And he's put up the same damn numbers that Jamal Murray is the whole year and since he's been out. So and I want to give that, and I think that goes towards Jokic's MVP candidacy, because everything that he does on the court makes it so much easier for a talented scorer next to him to just get his shots up, because Jokic knows, I guarantee you, Jokic, just like he knows exactly what Murray likes, exactly the kind of spots he wants to get to on the floor, he knows the same thing for Michael too. And he's going to set him up for success.
So with that you hit, you know, you're killing it right now with the Nuggets stuff, because one thing with MPJ earlier this year, you know, he'd have a massive game or two, then just be quiet for, you know, 3, 4, 5 games. And this is what I was talking about with him. He has the potential to be an absolute superstar. He can score anywhere on the court, but he is a major head case. I don't mean to say it like that, because like it's not like he's crazy or anything, but like he gets really, really hard on himself. And he's one of those guys who questions every single shot he does take, even though he can hit any shot. And he misses one shot, it gets to him. And he's thinking about that miss when he takes the next shot. And he can go cold real quick, gets in his head, misses shots. And there was a point last season, he had an earlier this season in one of the games, I forget which game exactly, he had an open 3 for, you know, no one near him in the corner, pass from Jokic. Doesn't take it in a close game. We end up losing. Porter, after the game, was down on himself to the media and stuff, all that, you know, making comments, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, he said how much better he was feeling because Jokic, you know, went up to him and was talking to him. It was like, hey, like, you're so good. Like, I passed you the ball because you are so talented. I want you to be the best you. Like, if I give it to you, I'm trusting you because you can do it and stuff. And, you know, pretty much since that point, Porter Jr. has shown way more consistency, more fluidity in the offense with the Nuggets, and he's been working great with Jokic.
Dude's a beast. He's an animal. I mean, he's showing the potential that everybody thought he was going to be able to show coming out. I mean, obviously the back injury is why he slid down in that draft, and later on, trust me, I've got some pieces about Porter Jr. in about that draft just in general. But yeah, like he's showing the talent that he showed. He would have been a top 3 guy out of that year without the injuries.
Oh yeah,
and it's showing. And having a guy like Jokic just on the floor with him and setting him up, and like you said, encouraging him too, being a good teammate and being like, nah, dude, these are your opportunities. Like, you got this. Like, no matter what, it benefits this team, and it's keeping this team afloat and battling for that 3 seed when everybody kind of thought that they were going to drop below the Lakers and slide down to the 5 and 6. Like, it just hasn't happened, and it's not going to happen. This team's too good, and Jokic has been too good. So I know you said that Dunny, you said that we shouldn't make an argument, but we're still going to make an argument. Like, we're still going to
I'm here for it.
We're still going to at least try. So Dunny, if it wasn't Nikola Jokic, who would you be handing the MVP trophy to in a couple weeks?
Chris Paul. His birthday today, yesterday, actually, for those listening. Yeah, I mean, Chris Paul, he has everything he touches turns to gold. And it's been more so like that in recent years, ever since he left the Clippers, pretty much, because teams' winning percentage just go up through the roof when CP3 comes to town. Him, Harden, and on the Rockets and Capella had, a real chance at making a deep playoff push. You got to credit, obviously James Harden's on that team, but you got to credit CP3. What he did last year with the Oklahoma City Thunder was just amazing. The fact that, I mean, don't get me wrong, other people contributed. Gallinari was great last year, SGA. But obviously CP3, he's a floor general. He turned that team around. And then he comes to this Phoenix Suns team who, they were scraping the play-in game last year. And now Chris Paul comes in, best record in the NBA, just crazy. I mean, obviously, like we said, it's tough to make an argument against Jokic, especially with the stats. Chris Paul averaging the averages just aren't there to actually give him the trophy. 6.3 points, 8.9 assists, 4.6 rebounds, about a steal and a half a game. And then we know he's money from the free throw line, 93%, but that's usually what he's at. He's just been an incredible leader all season long, and you expect the Suns to make a deep playoff push. And I mean, everyone in the Phoenix organization, you have to be thankful of this guy. I mean, he's respected league-wide. People, I mean, we're saying, it probably isn't true that he's the MVP, but there's legitimate, basketball analysts and media members and journalists on social media all day long actually defending Chris Paul, saying he is their number 1 MVP. He definitely deserves some recognition. I think if Jokic is erased from the NBA, then Chris Paul is for sure the MVP. And, I mean, depending on who, puts the actual votes in, if there's people that don't favor stats as heavily as we've seen in the past, then maybe he does get some votes. But, outside of stats, which sounds crazy to say, but CP3 is the MVP.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to Broussard you right now, but like, I don't hate it. And, we've seen a Suns point guard in the history before win an MVP averaging 14 points in a season. So, yeah, you brought it up. It's the stats versus impact. And while Jokic does have an impact on the Nuggets, like CP3's impact's been insane because that Suns team was a play-in team, like you said, probably. They had the talent, they had the pieces, they just needed the glue for them, and CP3 has been that glue. I mean, they're only a game back right now of the Jazz for first in the West. They look like an absolute threat, and it's because of CP3. So I'm not making an argument against Jokic, but you said, like, in a Jokic-less world, that's probably my pick, too.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we were really high on the Suns coming into the year to begin with, and that was the main reason. Like, it was the Chris Paul effect. I wish I had the tweet. I tried to find it in my likes just a second ago. Somebody posted the other day of teams before Chris Paul showed up, and then their winning percentage after he showed up. Yeah, every single team has flown up, except like the Thunder, because the Thunder's winning percentage has already been solid since they've existed, but it still was better with Chris Paul than it was like over their thing. Like, everywhere he goes, he wins, and everywhere he goes, he makes teams better and makes them into competitors. I think the thing with him, like, people get down on him because of the playoff, failures and everything else, but those teams were just broken in Los Angeles. I honestly think he was probably doing as much as he could to keep it together and keep those guys with what we know about Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. Like, could you imagine how angry Chris Paul must have been with those two living in LA all the time?
Yeah.
Like, imagine the debauchery they must have been to on a nightly basis when Chris was just like got his kids running around just trying to go out and win games. I feel like there was just a big disconnect between those guys, and that's what kind of hurt him.
I think there's just, a lot of clashing personalities on that team. I think they were, all hunky-dory at first when it was like Lob City first got introduced. But then I think a couple seasons shit hit the fan and they really all didn't react well together, if you will. I agree. Jake, who you got though?
All right, I'm giving this space to give my boy Julius Randle the time that he deserves. I've been a huge Julius Randle guy since he came into the league, since Kentucky. I thought he was super talented. Shit under the stick, and with that Lakers team, like, it was just a mess. Like, that Lakers team with all those young guys, just a complete mess. And then goes to New Orleans, and I mean, he played good there in some of those times, especially with the time that he played with AD. Like, they were good together. But this is what he could always had the potential to be. Like, this is always what, like, when he was at Kentucky, like, people thought he could be just a guy he's just huge. Like, he just looks like the Hulk on the court, but he can facilitate and run, and you can run an offense through him. And the fact that he added a 3-point shot to his game, like, that's like the modern NBA stretch forward. He is the prototype of what you would want in a stretch four in the modern NBA, like just a beast on the boards, a great defensive anchor for a team, and can make plays out of the post and make great passes and set up his teammates as well. He's not going to win MVP, obviously. Like, we know Jokic is. I don't know if he's going to get votes. I hope that he does, because he definitely deserves it. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see him on the All NBA first team and in one of those forward spots, because I think he deserves that too. But I think, we've seen it with Tibbs too, like, just like the perfect guys to play with Tibbs. Like, Jimmy Butler obviously was one of those. Karl-Anthony Towns was not one of those at all. And Julius Randle, definitely one of those guys that is kind of just the perfect mold to play with him. And he's gotten the most out of him because, like, Julius Randle's got to be loving all the usage. I mean, he's never had an opportunity like this, and they just kind of gave him the keys and let him go. The kid's been amazing. It's been incredible to watch this year, and it's so much more fun when the Knicks are good. Like, I'm not even a Knicks fan, never have been, but the NBA is more fun when the Knicks are good, and it's been great to see them have a star like show up.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. He's the driving force behind that Knicks team, and the NBA is better when the Knicks are good. I like the Knicks in the East this year because I don't have an East, alliance right now, so I'm rooting for them. And he's been absolutely instrumental in all of their success. Him and Derrick Rose are driving that team right now. And you said it perfect. He's had the shit on the stick his whole career. Finally getting the usage. Tibbs is the perfect coach for him. I mean, it's just a perfect situation for him. I'm happy for him. Maybe even a guy that can be a candidate for most improved player, but he's never been like bad. So, that's a hard argument there. But I hope he gets MVP votes. He deserves a couple, and give him one of those forward spots on the All NBA team. I'd love to see that. He absolutely deserves all the recognition he's gonna get.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely secure one of those spots on an All NBA team. And kind of when Randle started to come alive, Jake, I don't know if you remember us talking about it. I think it was on another episode. But I kind of have this hunch, and I kind of have all season that, Knicks fans were pissed off that they didn't get Zion Williamson. And I think Zion got a lot of comparisons coming into the league of Julius Randle. They said, but he's a more gifted, more athletic, and he got Julius Randle comparisons, but it was all like Zion was better. I think outside of field goal percentage, Randle is beating Zion in every stat. I think he took that a little personally. He's like, I'm the guy in New York. Everyone on the Knicks wanted Zion. They didn't. They got RJ Barrett. Now they have me. I think that fueled the fire a little bit, and that's why he's kind of been the king of New York lately. And yeah, I think I like Randle in this discussion. I like him even more in an All NBA discussion, like Nick had said.
Yeah, I think he kind of even said that too about going to the Knicks. He's like, I wanted to make the Knicks like good again. Like he kind of took that challenge on himself coming into that role, and obviously it's worked out for him so far this year. So I like that, calling the shot. Got to see it. So let's just mention a couple other guys here that they're going to be in the conversation. I think the guy Jokic is probably going to be damn close to a unanimous MVP. I don't think he'll get it, and I think the guy that's going to get the votes is honestly Giannis. And it's crazy to say, I mean, back-to-back MVP. If Jokic wasn't having the year he's having, I think Giannis would be the back-to-back-to-back MVP. He's averaging 28 points, 11 rebounds a game, almost 6 assists, and then a steal and a block to add it onto it. They've been great. They've been getting outshined in the East because the shiny new toy, the Nets, have been hanging out there. And obviously the Sixers have been at their best this year than they have in the last couple of years. But the Bucks are they've still been consistently great this year. They're only 3 games out of the 1 seed right now, which is kind of crazy. But could you imagine after all this going back and forth with the Sixers and Nets that the Bucks still end up with the 1 seed again? I don't know. It's just like, what do you guys think about Giannis's year? Like, do you think it would have been worthy of an MVP candidacy, and how insane it would have been the fact that Giannis could be considered for back-to-back-to-back MVPs, that he's had that much excellence over his last couple of years.
Giannis is the biggest, threat, I think, to Jokic being a unanimous MVP. He's going to definitely get some votes there. He's having an incredible season. He's just building up. Giannis is so good. I hate that Bucks team, but I appreciate Giannis because he's still underappreciated even with everything he does. In this MVP conversation nationally, he's barely talked about, which is kind of a joke with the year he's having, because it's just if you look at the numbers with no context or anything, they're not that much different than Jokic's right now. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he's just a good player. He's going to get the votes. I don't think he's able to, take enough away from Jokic to really scare me that much. But without him, it'd be a deserving year too. And I'd be remiss not mentioning too, Jokic MVP wouldn't be this clear cut either if Embiid never got hurt, if LeBron never got hurt. These are guys who are heavily in the conversation before their injuries too. So I don't want to pretend like Jokic has been running away with this thing all year. But right now, at this moment in time, I don't see how anyone other than Giannis, maybe CP3, gives him any bit of a scare.
Yeah, I would definitely put Giannis third in my rankings, and he's absolutely closer statistically than CP3. I think he has a slight edge in Jokic in points, slight edge in rebounds. Jokic has a great advantage in assists, probably pretty even steals and blocks, and then Jokic just has him on the 3-point percentage. And then obviously I think a lot of people are going to consider kind of what we touched on with Jamal Murray going down and Jokic really being able to go to a next level that people didn't really think he had. And that just gives him a boost. Giannis obviously doesn't want his star point guard to get injured, but that's what happened to Jokic, and he kind of dealt with it and just continued to play. Giannis, I don't honestly think, we've talked about it time and time again, but I just think the league doesn't even want to put him in the conversation to possibly in a row. I think they want, MVP is an exciting thing every year. It gets a lot of people's attention. I think they fear losing some of that hype if they, keep hyping up Giannis. But at what point are we going to ignore these stats? If he does it again next year, I don't know if he's going to be this much out of the conversation. I saw. No, go ahead, Mia. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it kind of reminds me of LeBron the past 15 years or so, where, LeBron could win MVP a lot of those years, but then he's, finishing 4th, 5th in the voting. And it's just it's they're just kind of ignoring him at this point. I'm not a fan of LeBron, but there's some years he definitely should have finished at least 2nd, where he was, 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Yeah, he literally could have 10 MVPs at this point.
I feel like Giannis is kind of in a similar role right now. He gets a couple early on, and he's getting better, but he's more out of the conversation. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, what did you say, Jake? They're 3 games out of the number 1 seed in the East.
Yeah, they're only 3 games back right now.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Like if they had that secured, like if they just were the 1 seed, like we might be having a different conversation right now. It is crazy to think about. But yeah, I mean, Giannis, no reason why he's not deserving year in, year out. And because he's a guy who hasn't missed time this year much either. So that has to go into account.
I also think if he's playing in Brooklyn, New York, and not Milwaukee, Wisconsin, he's probably more in the MVP conversation against Denver. I think that they're like they've been pushing. The NBA loves their big markets. They really do. Like no matter what they say, and they've been pushing Giannis down everybody's throats the last couple of years for good reason. I mean, and then what have they done once all the eyes are on him? What's happened? And I'm sure the league and the writers themselves, like they don't want to get burned again. And that's the thing. That's what you got to think. I always try to think. I'm like, if I was an NBA writer that had a vote, and some of these guys are just egotistical. They don't want to get burned by voting for these guys anymore, and that's as much as it comes down to. But this team, shit, man, they're terrifying, and I just think I wanted to give Giannis his flowers here before we moved on to this MVP conversation because dude's just been fucking killing it. And I like what you said about what you both said about the LeBron factor. Because I think that's kind of the space he operates now in, is that he's like young LeBron, because even young LeBron couldn't really shoot. Like he could shoot the 3 a little bit better than Giannis can, but Giannis gets hot from 3 some games, but was just dominant in the paint, just, you know, a crazy athlete. And he got his early success and everybody's like, okay, but like, what did he do in the playoffs? And we're just getting the same career arc over again. Same thing with Jordan too. And I'm not trying to compare Giannis to Michael Jordan at all. But I'm just saying the narrative about these guys that have such the great early success, it goes in the same flow. It's like, we love them. Something happens bad to them. Fuck them. Those guys suck. And then we're going to come back around on Giannis and we're going to think he's the greatest player of all time again. So it's just interesting to get through that. All right. A couple other guys we want to get through. And just give them, the respect that they get, and they probably would be MVP candidates if the team was playing a little better or just in a different year. I'm going to start with Steph Curry, because Steph Curry leading the league in points right now. The Warriors obviously they're in the play-in tournament right now. They are 33-33 in the 9 seed in the West, but without Klay Thompson, with Draymond Green, who apparently cannot score a basketball anymore. Draymond has the most absurd stat. Russ has absurd stat lines because just in general, but the Draymond stat lines are just hilarious. The other night I think it was the 3rd quarter, and I checked their stats, and Draymond had 2 points on 1 of 4 shooting, but had 12 assists and 11 rebounds. And it's how it's like when you're the kid, when you're with your younger cousins or family or something, and you're don't want to just put up shots, so you're just out there dishing. That's Draymond on an NBA court. He's like, I just don't want to put up these shots. I mean, he can't hit them. We probably could hit them at least. At least I'd like to think so. But I don't know. I don't know what to ask you guys about this. How much fun is it watching Steph Curry play basketball? Because I just think that this year has taught me how much I missed watching Steph just be able to just do Steph things.
Yeah, I miss the Splash Brothers. I love Klay Thompson, don't get me wrong, but watching Steph just unleash himself, they weren't playing for much a little bit ago, started getting hot, now they're right in that play-in conversation. So I personally be terrified of a first-round matchup with Steph Curry in this Warriors team right now, just because of what Steph's doing himself. But I kind of want to see him in the playoffs because it's just fun watching him play.
Yeah, just on the topic of Steph too, it's funny that we're having a discussion about all these guys, but we're kind of keeping it in the back of our head that we're going with Jokic 9 times out of 10 here. But it's funny how many of these guys have just self-declared themselves the MVP. We've seen Steph do it. Jokic did it. I think Dame even might have said it at one point about himself.
He did.
Yeah. So it is nice, but yeah, we gotta. Everyone misses the Splash Brothers at this point, especially now that we've seen Kevin Durant out of town for almost 2 seasons. We're ready to just see Steph and Klay, see how much they got left in the tank. Obviously, Steph has enough for both of them left in the tank, and that's why we're talking about him right now. But yeah, I mean, what an incredible story it would be if the Warriors climb out of the play-in tournament. and really, stick it to whoever they end up going against in the first round of the playoffs. Steph, obviously, in the conversation. Steph's going to Steph. I feel this could be the same thing as Giannis. As long as their team is, slightly above average every year, then these two guys should be in the conversation every year.
Yeah, for sure. So, Dunny, who else? Who else is another guy you think should get some consideration coming into this year?
We talked about him earlier. My guy, Russell Westbrook, baby. I mean, his 4th season averaging a triple-double. I heard today that if he scored 0 points, recorded 0 rebounds, and 0 assists for the rest of the season, he would still be averaging a triple-double. And granted, we're under 10 games left here for every team. But still, that's incredible. Because you would think if he's averaging a triple-double, it's like, okay, he's right there. No, this dude's averaging 22 points a game, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. So he's cleared the mark. He's got it locked in. And I just hate I've just had enough of the Westbrook hate. Like, Westbrook can't make tough shots, can't shoot from 3, 31% from 3. Okay, he's not a great 3-point shooter, but find me someone else who's going to put up this many triple doubles. He's going to break Oscar Robinson's record for most triple doubles all time. I think he has 179 right now, which is
I think, is he at 180 or no? He got 179 last night.
I think so. Yeah, I think going into last night he was at 178.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Russ, like I said, I made a video a few weeks ago. Like, if Steph's in this conversation because of stats and, they're scratching the play-in tournament now, then Westbrook, he's in the Eastern Conference. He's got the stats and they're in the play-in tournament. So, yeah, got to go Brody here.
I love that pick. I've come around on Westbrook. I used to be one of the Westbrook haters, and now I can't even do it. It's just so much fun to watch him, and I love watching his boy Brad Beal next to him too. The most pure. As much as we talk about Steph as the pure scorer in the league, like Brad Beal right up there with him. Meerkat, who would be your other consideration here?
Brad Beal's interesting because he's just dropping buckets this year. But I mean, Luka, he's Luka. He's incredible. He's still so young, averaging 29, 8, and 9 this year. It's just it's kind of crazy. Some of the shots he hits, he can hit any shot he takes. It doesn't matter if he's falling down backward, doing a 180, can't even see the bucket. He'll toss it up and it'll be close.
Yeah, the Mavericks have failed that man in building around him, because that team should be. I can't wait to see what they try to do, because I feel like this summer they're going to be super aggressive in trying to get somebody around him, because they need to. He deserves it, and just the way he plays, the way he plays is not unlike Jokic, where they are just so deliberate. But everything they do has meaning. They can do it slow. They can pick up the pace. They control the entire pace in the game when they're on the floor, and he just doesn't have the firepower around him to help out, and he can't play a lick of defense. That don't help, but
yeah, exactly.
On the perimeter. But all right, so yeah, those are all great choices. It's gonna be interesting to see. I can't wait to see what social media team puts out the 4th place in MVP voting for their player. I can't wait for that tweet just to see that, because I know it's coming. That's because when you guys said all the players declare an MVP for themselves, it made me think oh man, the Wizards, when Russ gets 6th place in MVP, they're definitely putting out a tweet that's our 6th place MVP votes Russell Westbrook, and then showing a highlight video.
2 players voted top 10 in MVP votes. Westbrook 6, Beal 10. Congrats to our second team All NBA guards.
It's gonna be hilarious.
I'm kind of just itching for them to just tell me who the MVP is, or just give it to Jokic, because I logged on Twitter a few days ago and I saw an updated ranking list, and Gobert was on the fucking top 10 list. I'm Rudy Gobert, incredible numbers, but Rudy Gobert's not winning an MVP. I'm sorry.
No. And if he does, that's what I'm done watching basketball.
The fact that we talked about that many dudes, and there's still more dudes that I would put above Rudy Gobert. I was honestly a little upset. I just want to know at this point.
If Rudy Gobert won, I would retire from this podcast and the NBA and just everything. I'd be done. I'd be that's it. That's my goal. All right.
Is he going to get another defensive player of the year, though?
Fuck no, Ben Simmons.
Possible.
Yeah, honestly, like I wish
Let me
Matisse
have
Thybulle
this.
played like 35 minutes a game because I love I
Ooh.
hate the Sixers, but I love watching him play. Like, just a random note there, I appreciate his defense. You know, defense is a lost art in the NBA, and him chasing down jump shots and tipping them and stuff like that, he's crazy.
Yeah.
Once Thybulle gets like a corner three, he's gonna end up winning like 6 NBA titles in his career because every contender is gonna want him on their team. Like once he turns like 27, 28. Yeah, that dude's fucking crazy.
He's gonna be like a juiced Robert Covington.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy. All right, so while we wrap up, we're gonna wrap up today here with a new segment. We're calling it the Homer Hooper. Each of us, we're gonna get about minute, 2 minutes. We're just going to go off about our teams and just how we're feeling, good or bad. I'll lead it off here. This is my segment idea here. So I'll lead it off, lead the way. Then we'll go to Dunny, and then Meerkat, you will get the hammer here. So I'm going to go off my Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's talk about the Cavs here quick because I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things on Twitter recently about how the Cleveland Cavaliers should not re-sign Colin Sexton. I've seen that the last couple of days, and I've just been ruminating with it. And my first impression was kind of like I'm tired of this Cavs team. Whatever, like get rid of Colin Sexton. Fuck that guy. Like he's terrible. Then I looked at his stats this year. Colin Sexton right now on the 21-45 team, 24 points. He's averaging 4 assists, 3 rebounds a game. He has a PER of 18, which is not. I mean, that's not bad, not good, whatever. But we were willing to pay. The Cleveland Cavaliers were willing to pay washed up. We weren't even sure how good of an all-star he was. Kevin Love, $30 million a year a couple years ago. And now Kevin Love is just passing the ball in nonchalantly and not caring about this team at all. But we can't pay a guard who's averaging 24 points a game. I'm at a loss. I really don't understand what this team would be doing without Colin Sexton. I don't know what they think they should be doing in the future. But if it's not keeping the only guy that like you could build around, like who are we going to build around? You know, tiny ass Darius Garland. How well has that worked out when teams start building around like 5'11" guards? It's usually not worked out in their career. Jared Allen's a great player. He's averaging 13 points a game this year. That's not going to get it done for either. You know, maybe they get lucky in the lottery this year and get another one of those number 1 picks that they've seemed to have so many of the last couple of years. But you cannot just get rid of good guys, at least not for nothing. Sign him and trade him for all I care. But no, they can't just let this guy go. He's been killing it recently for them. I'm just tired of it. And I said I'd bring back MPJ back around. As much as I'm hyping up Colin Sexton, my biggest thing is they should have picked MPJ instead of Colin Sexton anyways. And I'll die on that hill for the rest of my life.
I like that.
All right. You ready, Donnie? That was my Cavs, right? We're ready for the C's here. How are we feeling about the Boston Celtics right now, Dunny?
Hey man, it's been a long bumpy ride this season for my Boston Celtics. You know, it was kind of last year losing Hayward, bit of a new look, 2 first-round draft picks. People were mad at the start of the season about the draft picks. Then it looked like, you know, the Celtics were clicking. I think they started 8-1 or something like that. Everyone was like, oh, C's year. Well, right now they find themselves 6th seed in the Eastern Conference, 35-31. They're not top 10, or they're not above top 10 in any real category, not points per game, not opponents points per game, not offensive rating, not defensive rating, not net rating. And that's just unusual, especially for a Brad Stevens-led Celtics team. But, you know, I'm gonna leave it to the haters on social media and, you know, all the journalists and analysts, and let them, you know, rag on the Celtics team. I just want to, you know, bring up that they've gone through so much adversity. Of course, they have 2 All-Stars. I do think this team should be slightly better. But, I mean, we're talking COVID for just about or not actually getting COVID, but health and safety protocols for just about every player or important player on this roster for an extended period of time. Kemba Walker hasn't been able to play back-to-backs all season long. Jaylen Brown's been banged up. Marcus Smart was out for 2 months. Robert Williams had his injuries dealt with. It's just tough. I mean, they haven't had any time to really mesh this roster. Bringing in Evan Fournier at the trade deadline, and he's played limited games with this group. He's talked about it, saying he's trying to get his groove. Jason Tatum says he hasn't been the same since he got COVID-19. So it's been a wild year for the Celtics, and certainly just different than what all the green teamers are used to seeing. And I understand the hate. Like if you got 2 all-stars and you have a talented group like the Celtics, because whether you hate or love this team or think that they're a bad team or think they're a good team, you can't deny that through and through they're loaded with talent. So it's just upsetting as a fan and a little bizarre to see them in the spot that they're in. But I think, my team, my Celtics, they avoid the play-in tournament. They hold the 6th, maybe grab the 5th seed. I think they're fine if they can stay healthy and get those guys to mesh come playoff time.
Do you think that would you rather see? I think you'd obviously rather see the Knicks, but honestly, if I was in your position, I'd be more scared of the Knicks series just because that Boston, New York, the way those Knicks fans are feeling, like that might be a way more hellacious couple weeks than playing the Bucks again.
Yeah, honestly, that's a good point. Like I don't really, when I think about the playoffs and I think about potential matchups, I definitely do, like, as far as fear goes, I fear the Knicks a little bit more than the Bucks, just because, I mean, and recent years, we talked about this when we talked about the Sixers at the beginning of the season. Obviously, I can't go and say exactly what I said, but like the Sixers and Bucks, the Celtics have had their way with them in recent years in the playoffs, both those teams. So the Bucks aren't scaring me as much as the Knicks will, just because I think it's a motivated group. Boston, New York, as you mentioned, both teams like to slow it down. So it's going to be low scoring, gritty battle. Tibbs used to be an assistant in Boston. Just a lot of history, a lot of grit and grind. And I don't think you want to get in front of this Knicks train that's being powered by Julius Randle right now. So, yeah, I think – and I also think the Celtics, one of few teams in the NBA that usually do an exceptional job on Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I definitely would rather. I think I don't want to say that Giannis, average 40 a game, but I think I'd rather see the Bucks.
Semi Ojeleye, the Giannis stopper.
Yeah,
like we all saw it.
So I would keep him around.
All right, Meerkat, bring us home. Hype up your boys going into the playoffs here. What are we gonna see from the Nuggets?
All right, so let me just start this out with listing some other teams. These are the NBA odds in order for NBA championship. Brooklyn Nets, LA Lakers, LA Clippers, Utah Jazz, Milwaukee Bucks, Philadelphia 76ers, Phoenix Suns at 1,500, and then the Nuggets all the way at plus 3,500, right in front of the Blazers and the Heat. I mean, give my team some damn respect. You saw what they did last year with absolutely no identity in the playoff. That huge comeback against the Jazz, the comeback against the Clippers, going to the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers. Didn't look the best, but they were still putting the pieces together. They've been doing that all year this year with Nikola Jokic playing on an absolutely otherworldly level, carrying this team. You saw them play good this year, be a little shaky. They go out and make a massive move to shore up their one problem on the team, which was defense, with Aaron Gordon. Started 7-0 with after acquiring him. Looked incredible. You lose Jamal Murray. People lose hope in you. They're 13-4 since then with Jokic, with a point guard committee. You're having Austin Rivers play 30 minutes and drop 25 points for them right now. They have depth. They're figuring out a rotation, and they have the pieces. They're a team now that can have role players come and step up and fill different roles against different teams. They're making noise right now. The two hottest teams in the NBA right now, both 8-2 in their last 10. The Knicks and the Nuggets, they played last night. What do you know? The Nuggets handled the Knicks. I just don't get why my team isn't getting the respect it deserves. We're sitting third in the West right now. We're only a few games out of that first spot. We are charging. I don't care that the Lakers are healthy. We've looked good against them this year. The Jazz don't scare me. The Suns, sure, they're feel-good, but come playoffs, I don't think Chris Paul is enough to carry that team by himself. Just give my team some respect and get ready for the Denver Nuggets to make another run this year.
Give
There
those
it is.
Nuggets some respect, baby.
I was trying to get quick enough to get the Birdman meme up with right next to you over it. I couldn't get it in time, but I'll be more prepared. I'm sold. I might put a future on the Nugs right now. Fuck it. It is kind of baffling that the Lakers are still ahead of them with the way the Lakers look and the fact that LeBron is not even like playing basketball yet. Like,
and how much further they are behind than that top, those 6-7 teams. It's the Suns at plus 1,500, and then boom, Nuggets plus 3,500. Like just a crazy drop off to me with what this team's done before with Mike Malone, what he's done in the playoffs with them, really coaching his best basketball when it comes down to it. And with Jokic, the level he's playing on, the depth we have now, because, we lost some big names. Jeremy Grant was a big loss, but guys have stepped up. Like I brought up Austin Rivers. PJ Dozier was playing incredible. Facundo Campazzo has been our top point guard, just making some incredible plays, playing incredibly efficient out there. Like I said, we've always been a team that has had, a couple stars and stuff, but never really filled it out with the right type of role players. Relied on guys like, Paul Millsap in the playoffs be your defensive anchor, which it was, you saw it last year. That's what got us killed against the Lakers. Now you got a guy like Aaron Gordon. You have this just quality depth on the team that is all stepping up right now, and they're going to be healthy soon, minus Murray. You're getting Will Barton back soon. PJ Dozier should be good by come playoff time. Monte Morris is coming back. I mean, this team runs deep. They can put a lot of minutes up, different guys off the bench, can match out who needs to be rotating when, who gets more time in a certain given night. You saw it last night against the Knicks. They tried to counter the Knicks defensive style, attack them a lot of mid-range and stuff, throw them off balance, and it's exactly what they did. I think Malone is out for some blood. This team is just getting so disrespected. Give me the MVP leading this team into the playoffs on an absolute, a charge.
I love it. I'm locked in now. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to see it. First, mostly, I mean, just as much. I can't cheer for the Clippers, so I mean, why not the Nuggets, right? Like, and not the Jazz either. That's the other team.
Yeah, who wants
the Clippers? The Jazz, like, fuck that. It's either the Suns or Nuggets this year, but that's what we're riding with. We need like some Nuggets branding here eventually. We're gonna like, try. I want to try to get that. We'll get these colors like all changed up. We can get rolling with it. It'll be great.
There we go.
There, you guys. Those were good arguments, guys. I appreciated that. We're gonna keep that rolling as we get other guests coming on here too. We're definitely interested to hear their takes on their teams, especially as we get towards playoff time. So that'll do it for us today here. Follow us at Trainwreck Sports. That is without the O on Twitter. We really got to get that O in somehow, man. You think we can?
Trainwreck Spurts.
Trainwreck Spurts. At Happy Hour Hoops 1. Follow Meerkat at Meerkat Cat. I've almost like when I've texted you or said your name, like almost just say Meerkat Cat all the time. It's just more fun for me to like add the extra cat in there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I go by it all, man. Meerkat Cat, whatever you want to call me. Just don't call me by my actual name.
We ain't even gonna say it. You guys don't even know. All right. Enjoy the games this weekend. Follow along as we'll be covering them as well. Stay hydrated. Have a great weekend, folks.